Hello and welcome to the Collapse Experiment, where we get to discuss just how crappy things are getting. Is it getting any better? Is it? Is it really? Well, let's find out. So, the articles I am about to talk about, you can find at the collapseexperiment.com and read them for yourselves and let me know what you think. But in the meantime, let's get to this first article. Russia's Merchant of Death warns Donald Trump his life is in danger. Why do I trust the Merchant of Death more than our actual government? I don't know, JFK much. Oh, good morning. Obsolete Optics says good morning to you too. I have my coffee and we're going to have an interesting chat today. Oh, yeah. So the Merchant of Death apparently contacted Donald Trump this week saying he believes the former president's life is in danger if he remains in the United States. I'd kind of believe that. In an interview on a Russian state TV channel, Victor Bout, an international arms dealer made infamous after his portrayal by Nicolas Cage in the 2005 film Lord of War, told a reporter he had sent a telegram to Trump warning him of an imminent threat to his life and urging him to flee to Russia for safety. That's not like Edward Snowden much, is it? Isn't it weird that the latest Pentagon paper leaks that have come out, they're now saying this is more dangerous than what Edward Snowden did? Because it's like real-time intel and information that could actually get people killed. But remember back then in 2013, Edward Snowden was the most evil, vile piece of crap on the planet, and he risked the lives of everyone with what he did. But no, now they're saying that this is worse than what Snowden did. It's like 50 documents, and Snowden had like tens of thousands, I think it was like over 1 million documents he downloaded. Didn't know what it was, handed it to reporters and said, shift through this, find the good stuff, and post it to Wikipedia or WikiLeaks or Wikipedia, whatever. That'd be kind of cool too, just posting stuff to Wikipedia. Snow job. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, this guy, the threat against Trump's life, Bout suggests, is not from an assassin or some unknown plot against him. Instead, he said it comes from Trump's own government and as a result of Manhattan District Attorney's probe of allegations that Trump falsified business records to hide a hush money payment to former adult film star. Was she a star? Like, I only remember her from the 40-Year-Old Virgin. Yeah, I don't know if she was actually a star before the 2016 election. Trump was arraigned this week, blah, blah, blah. He's denied all wrongdoing, yada, yada, yada. And the legal process, which has now begun in New York, won't just end in Donald Trump being convicted and barred from the 2024 election, Bout says in the Russia 24 news channel. Most likely he'll simply be eliminated there, he continued. Therefore, I think it is in the best interest of all of humanity. Are they saying that they're going to Epstein Trump? Seriously? Therefore, I think it is in the best interest of all of humanity and primarily all of American people to invite Donald Trump here to Russia to give him security and protection here so that he leads his uprising against the globalists and most importantly, does not allow the elimination of the American people. He just said they're planning on nuking us. Wow. Bout made headlines internationally after he was party to a prisoner exchange between the United States and Russia for basketball. She's not a star. Basketball star Brittany Griner. This past December, she was sentenced to 9 years in prison after being apprehended. Yeah, we know about her drug use and how she was really insanely dumb, thinking that she could just bring some weed to Russia because they don't have strict laws or anything. Bout, by contrast, allegedly had familiar connections at the very height of the Russian government and had attracted international scrutiny for his alleged crimes long before he was ever charged with anything. He was eventually charged by U.S. officials in 2010 on allegations of lending material support to designated foreign terrorist organizations, conspiring to kill Americans abroad, and conspiring to acquire and use an anti aircraft missile, amid numerous other charges. Some Trump supporters have said that the Manhattan case against him is politically motivated. No. Are you serious? Citing a handful of small political donations made to small political here's $5. Yes, please go get Donald Trump for me. Here's a few dollars made to Democratic causes by the case's presiding judge, as well as the political leanings of Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, a Democrat. I'm thinking if you're a judge and you're supposed to be uh, in the middle, you're supposed to be balancing that scale, making sure that justice is served. Perhaps donating to a political party should be against the rules. What is this crap? Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, has faced years of scrutiny after his alleged willingness to dispatch his political opponents by any means necessary. So he's Hillary with a dick? I don't get it. The most notable example is opposition leader Alexei Navalny, a fierce critic of Putin who was imprisoned by Russian government in 2021 for an alleged violation of his parole and charges that international observers say were politically motivated. I would think the most blatant one was the dude that was killed right outside of the Kremlin. Like just shot and killed right out. It'd be like just hanging out in front of the Capitol building, talking some trash about, I don't know, Nancy Pelosi, and then all of a sudden somebody just offs you. And we think it was a mugging, but he has his wallet. It was a mugging. He didn't reveal anything us truthers didn't already know. Yes, but he confirmed it. Obsolete Optics says about Snowden. Clausen crisis initiation. When money walks in the door, justice goes out the window. Yes, that is very true. All right, so yeah, the Merchant of Death trying to warn Donald Trump something might happen. I have a bad feeling. I wasn't leaning towards that. I think it would just be too obvious. But then again, we're not exactly run by the most brilliant people on the planet. As I said on a post in YouTube yesterday, I really was hoping that the Pentagon paper leaks would help fix stupid, but the Pentagon is obviously Forrest Gump running right out the field. Like, you just can't stop him, and he's just going to keep going regardless of whether it makes any sense or not. Oh, yeah. So, I'm going to read this other article before I go on my little rant about the new version of MK Ultra that I've been thinking a lot about. Boston FBI raids wrong hotel room, detains and interrogates innocent man for 45 minutes. This really happened. New FBI blunders of late likely capture compared to what just happened in Boston last week. What happened in Boston last week? When federal agents on a training mission wound up barging into the wrong hotel room and inadvertently interrogating an innocent hotel guest who was sleeping for nearly 45 minutes. Wait, this was a training mission. Like, this wasn't even supposed to be real. The bizarre mistake outlined by NPR last week, they're trustworthy, occurred during a training exercise at a Boston hotel. How about, don't they have like facilities where they can just use a fake hotel? Like, the military has these things. An innocent guest was sleeping at his room at the Riviera Hotel when federal agents began banging on his door and demanded to be let in, the reporter says. Agents then handcuffed the innocent man, isolated him in the shower, and interrogated him for more than 45 minutes before ever realizing they had made a mistake. Were they Lex Disick? Did they get the numbers backwards? What is going on here? Lieutenant Colonel Mike Burns, spokesperson for the U.S. Army Special Operations Command, how does he come into this? Commented on the blunder. First and foremost, we'd like to extend our deepest apologies to the individual who is affected by the training exercise. Aw, please don't sue us. That's what that translates to. The U.S. Army Special Operations Command was in tow with the FBI conducting essential military training. They're doing essential military, busting in doors on hotel rooms and interrogating people in showers. This is military training? Gee, I wonder if they're planning on doing any of that here. Burns continued, the training was meant to enhance soldiers' skills to operate in realistic and unfamiliar environments. The training team unfortunately entered the wrong room. You might want to get that correct before you move on to other things. And detained an individual unaffiliated with the exercise. The FBI Boston Division said that they were mistakenly sent to the wrong room based on inaccurate information. You might want to get that fixed too before you go barging into somebody's room. NPR wrote the man in the hotel room was in his 30s and was an employee of Delta Airlines. Well, if it's Delta, perhaps he had it coming. I don't remember ever hearing anything good about Delta. Boston police were eventually called to the building, and officers confirmed it was a training exercise that had gone wrong. Delta said it was looking into reports of an alleged incident in Boston that may involve Delta people. They added, we have nothing further to share at this time other than to reaffirm our commitment to ensuring the safety and well-being of our people. Then why does your customer service suck? The safety of civilians in the vicinity of our training is always our number one concern, Burns continued. Really? Are you sure about that? Because you got the wrong guy. It took you 45 minutes to realize during a training session, first, you had the wrong room. Okay, that was your first blunder. Second, you handcuffed a dude. So you took away his civil liberties by arresting somebody who was innocent. And then third, you interrogated him in the shower. Now, from my understanding, and this is just my understanding of the law, is that once you apprehend somebody, you take them down to the station where they can get access to a lawyer when they request a lawyer. Or was this like an anti-terrorism thing where they don't have that right? They don't have any rights. You can just indefinitely detain them like, I don't know, J6 people. So yeah, NPR is just the American equivalent of RT. That is 100% accurate. Twitter actually got something right. I want to point that out. Twitter labeling NPR as state-affiliated media is 100% correct. Extraordinary rendition. Yes, and they're still doing that, by the way. Okay, so that's our making fun of the FBI segment of the show, and I want to get to MK Ultra 2.0, which I'm going to be riffing off the top of my head here, or as they say in the White House, top of mind. Which, where the hell did that come from? Is this like one of those new 1984 word phrase things where they just come up with something, it has some weird unknown meaning only to the people who use it? I don't know. So anyways, MK Ultra. We had this program back in the late 50s, early 60s, probably continued on throughout the 70s, where these people, especially Jolly West and several other psychiatrists and doctors and scientists in the know, work to try to figure out how to use mind control or create unknowing operatives that could be uh, activated by different means. Uh, it's well known that several attempted assassins or successful assassins had copies of Catcher in the Rye in their pocket, or uh, had, I don't know, mental health issues, right? So there's a lot we don't know because a lot of the paperwork for MK Ultra was destroyed. There's some that did survive, and the only reason we really know about this is because a doctor, um, while it's in question, did he delete himself? I mean, he jumped out of a hotel room window, but he was far enough away that he obviously had to have been thrown possibly by other people, but no one really knows what happened. But the family wanted to investigate, and then come to find out he was there for MK Ultra, where doses of LSD were handed out to different people to see what the side effects were, to see whether or not they could be programmed. It's also uh, come uh, come to find out there was a book that was recently published. It was on Joe Rogan called Chaos and had to do with Charles Manson, MK Ultra, whether or not he was affiliated with the program in some kind of way, like they were trying to make him into one of these assassins. But then unknowingly he learned how to control people, and that was how he had his cult formed. He'd get people high, do all these different things while programming them to follow his directions. And then things went horribly bad. So, is what we're seeing right now a new form or just a continuation of MK Ultra? Because what we're seeing now is trans people, possibly trans people, or as Hannibal Lecter once said, they're not truly a transsexual. Uh, yeah, he was the actual first, like, uh, what do they call it? It's not anti-trans. They've got another name for it. I don't really care. But he was the first person to say that, well, yeah, he may identify as this, but he's not really Buffalo Bill. So yeah, is what we're seeing is a bunch of people. You have a person who's mentally susceptible to undergoing a lot of things that most people would be against, like being talked into cutting off their penis, chopping off their breast. Um, they're being talked into these things. If they're willing to do that, could they be talked into, I don't know, going into a school? And then how would we know? How would we know what is actually going on? Because patient confidentiality, you're not going to be able to access those papers, especially if they're caught. The cops could actually go to the office and say, like, we'd like to see these papers. Yeah, well, HIPAA. Sorry, you can't. Um, there's those records are, and they've been sealed for a lot of cases. You've got the Batman shooter who was in a psychology program in college. Dude was clearly whacked out when he went into court the very next day after shooting up a movie theater. We've also got the Columbine kids. I don't know what kind of psychiatric help they may have been receiving. We'll never know at this point because, oh, yeah, all those papers were destroyed by a court order. Gee, I wonder why. Adam Lanza, this guy was seeing a psychiatrist. One, oh, by the way, was convicted of sexually assaulting his patients. And this was after Adam Lanza did his thing in that little elementary school. So you have this history of these people seeking psychiatric help, but we don't know what happened during these sessions. And we'll never know if they were part of some other type of program. It's very convenient, isn't it? That their privacy is protected even after the fact that they did these horrible things. And then it's not the help, it's not the medication. No, it's the gun. It's the weapon itself. But we have an administration right now who is trying to tell kids you can be anything you want to be even Billy can have a baby, uh, which is just tearing our society apart. Let's be honest here. It's definitely tearing things apart. You're putting all these weird things in people's heads. You're having them go to shrinks that God knows what the hell they're telling these people. Well, there's also the problems of medications. When Xanax wasn't no, it wasn't Xanax, Zoloft. When Zoloft first came out, I remember this during the 90s. Zoloft comes out, and all of a sudden, you see this spike in self deletions with high school people, especially high school boys, where they go and they get put on these antidepressants. It's a depressing time. It's supposed to be. Your body's changing. You have these weird, whacked out hormones. You don't know what the hell's going on with you. And all of a sudden, they're like, hey, let's introduce this other like mind altering drug to the situation. And all of a sudden, it drives the person who's supposed to be feeling better to self delete. And they tried to hide that for the longest time. Oh, no. Our clinical studies are, oh, that paper, the one that we never released. We forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, there's these out of court settlements where these families are getting buco bucks because their kid was given a prescription that they had no idea that was a possible side effect. Now, what you have is a bunch of kids, and a lot of them are kids, except for this 28-year-old chick that decided to also go into a school and delete some people off the planet, uh, who are going on hormones. Women, biological women, who are getting larger doses of testosterone than an adolescent boy would get. And we already know how adolescent boys are. But hey, you got to counter the estrogen, right? So we're going to give you more testosterone than the average boy gets. Meanwhile, we're not going to tell you like, oh yeah, you may have some aggressive behavior. You're just going to want to punch that guy in the other car. They don't know about that. They're just like, yeah, we're reaffirming how you feel about yourself, which also is complete BS, as we know from Matt Walsh, who was confronted by a transgender person recently. And when he asked them, well, how did you know that you were a woman? And none of the answer had anything to do with being a woman. It had to do with identifying as trans, which how do you know that you're trans? Well, you just kind of know because you hear the experiences of other trans people. Okay. I'm so glad that you had the diagnosis of a healthcare professional. So yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing. And I'm concerned, for one, there's definitely a push from the Biden administration that they want to come take our guns, right? The law abiding people, the people who want to keep our penises, they want to take our guns, right? Meanwhile, you've got these mentally ill people running around trying to delete other people while they know that the same thing is going to happen to them in the end. And yet, no one is talking about the mental health issue that our government is implementing across the country. And I think they're taking advantage of these people. I really do. We don't know what's going on in these sessions. Obviously, so considering that schools now, I'm hoping it's not where I live. Um, but schools now are telling kids, don't tell mommy and daddy about this, which isn't that one of those phrases that I don't know, pedos, the weird phrase that YouTube's probably going to give me a freaking strike for, the child lovers. Isn't that what they tell kids after they do things they're not supposed to do with kids? Don't tell mom and dad because I'll get in trouble. And you don't want that, do you? So, yeah, um, we don't know what's going on in these sessions at all with these people or what they're being told. if they're being encouraged to do stuff like this, which they are. It's it's on YouTube, it's on Twitter. They're encouraging people in this mindset where they are mentally disturbed to go out and do the same things in self-defense. Now, I don't know if this is like some type of code, whether or not these people are mentally deranged to the point where they can just hear a phrase from somebody they identify with and be like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. I think I'll do that." Maps, minor, yes, I've heard of that too. There was somebody who's bringing that up years ago, and they were like, "Yeah, this is going to be a new phrase, and they're going to try to normalize this." Um, yeah, I should probably just use that from now on, even though they're probably going to red flag that. It's like, don't be using the phrase that we're trying to normalize. Oh no! So, is this a new form of MK Ultra? Well, it, it really looks like from on the outside looking in, if you're reading the news stories, you're seeing who's committing the acts, what kind of history they have, what they're involved in. 2 years ago, this was not a thing. This was not happening. And now all of a sudden, it's how many have we had in the last year? This is crazy. It's like the Manson clan got their orders and they're going out doing the things that they think Manson told them to do. It's in question whether or not Manson actually ordered them to go to that house and do the thing that they did and paint on the walls and whatnot. Um, but the important thing is they thought that's what they were supposed to do. And clearly the message, especially from the White House, is that this is what they not only do they not denounce the actions, but they give justification for why it happened. Now, in my mind, if we were in a sane society, I would say the White House is, I don't know, supporting the acts of domestic terrorists, which last time I checked had a very terminal uh sentence for that, right? You can't you can't supply or help the other force, right? Like if somebody in the United States right now was caught supporting Russia, if we were actually at war with them, if the US declared war on Russia, and then like 2 weeks afterwards, somebody was actually, I don't know, funneling money, money, helping moral support, sending bullets over to Russia in order to help with their front. Yeah, you can end up strapped to a chair in the end if you were sentenced. Okay, the Virgin mass deleter. His actions are a thoughtless expression of sheer emotion. No girlfriend. His plea for attention is deeply unoriginal. Entire training regiment consisting of a single trip to a rifle range. His whiny 500-word manifesto was published on Facebook and Tumblr. Virginia. Uh, was that the Asian kid at the university? The Chad serial Boom Boom motivated to take action to save society from itself, risk own life building intricately engineered machines. I'm guessing that's probably referring to Yuna. And abstains from out of duty to the mission, studied long hours to attain mastery of chemical, electrical, and mechanical devices. His 35-word, yes, it's the Una guy. I'm not, can we actually say his name? I don't know. YouTube is very questionable on stupid stuff. 35-word thesis on industrial society was published by the Washington Post. I think Washington Post was the first one, and I think there were several other publications after that that actually published it. But yeah, I do believe that was the first one. And I just listened to a podcast the other day about that subject, and I have actually read the manifesto. But as for the Virgin Mass Deleter, I'm trying to figure out 500-word manifesto. I don't know which one that is referring to because a lot of them tend to be versions of one form or another. Um, so, anyways, yeah. Uh, what am I getting at here? I feel like the White House is orchestrating a lot of this stuff and encouraging the behavior, which last time I checked was highly illegal. But no, that doesn't stop anybody from doing anything. This is the same White House that, oh, yeah, this guy charged with arson. Yeah, we're going to post his bail because it's free speech to set places on fire that he doesn't own. Ted K was right. Oh, yeah, that's what you're getting at. 100%. I just got added to another list. That's awesome. So yeah, I read the manifesto back in 2020 when the stuff was going down. And as I'm reading it, I'm like, this is what we've been seeing for a long, long time now, especially, what was it, 2014, I think, is when you started seeing the uprise of the university counter free speech. We don't want these people here. We're setting stuff on fire. We want safe spaces, blah, blah, blah. I think that was when we first started seeing the first of that. And then 2020 came around, actually 2019. That's when I'm going to say we really started seeing this stuff. So 2019 comes. Those people are now working in jobs, in offices because, oh, they have a college degree. College degrees, in my opinion, by the way, are complete bullshit. They're worthless. These people have no life experience. They don't know what they're doing, especially when they're trying to run things that are of a physical nature and don't involve books, writing papers, or drinking from a keg. That's just my experience with several of the workplaces I have been in. When they hire somebody straight out of college to start running things and they have no idea how the place operates, things go to shit. Especially when it comes to HR, because everything is a freaking HR concern, especially if the accusation against a straight white male, it never goes into the opposite direction because, no, you're being racist. He can say that you have a big ass juicy booty. It's part of his culture. Oh, Frank, the white dude, he said he wanted to tap that. I'm gonna bring Frank into my office right now. That's the kind of how it works. Like the policies do not apply to everybody, and depending on the color of your skin, is what's going to determine whether or not that policy is actually enacted. Because otherwise, it's just racist. So yeah, do we have another form of MK Ultra? It's actually very, very possible right now, but we'll never know because those documents from those psychiatric clinics that these people tend to go to are sealed. We have no idea what's being discussed, what they're talking about, what kind of behavioral modifications are happening, what medications they're on, who they've been talking to. We don't hear any of this stuff, and we'll never hear any of this stuff. But in the meantime, why are the same types of people committing the same acts? And the White House, I have to go back to the White House. No comments on the 6 people in the school who were deleted from the situation. But heaven forbid that you get the pronouns wrong on the shooter. Oh, and they're like, we stand tall with trans kids and we're not going to put up with this and blah, blah, blah. What about the 6 people that are no longer here? What about that? Why are you sticking up for a human walking piece of garbage that got folded like a fucking folding chair as they should have been? And in reality, it would have been better if they had just done that to themselves where they live instead of going into a school and trying to make a statement. One that apparently the White House backs up. That's what pisses me off the most. The fact that, for one, nobody went to go comfort the families of the victims from this incident. No one. But get the pronoun wrong of the shooter and all hell breaks loose at the White House? Something needs to change. Uh, Biden needs to go. But apparently they're willing, if you believe the Merchant of Death, if you believe this guy, which, hey, if you are, so to get to the Merchant of Death story, this is a guy who sold guns to everyone, right? What happened was he would operate for the US, he would operate for Russia, he'd operate for this country, that country. And so everyone had a benefit in working with this guy because he could run stuff to places that they weren't supposed to be shipping weapons to, which is why the first couple times he got busted here in the US, somebody would make a phone call and be like, yeah, that guy, you need to let him go. And then all of a sudden, he's selling to the wrong people. And then the US is like, he benefited us for a period of time, but his usefulness has come to an end. So here's a guy who's been on the inside. He knows how things operate. He's worked with the deep state. He's worked with a bunch of shady people who really should have no business being in power whatsoever. And when he comes out and says they're planning on getting rid of a political opponent in order to stay in power, we should probably listen to him because this is the same administration that is encouraging people who already cut off their genitalia to go into a building and delete people from the planet. Is it beyond them to take out a political opponent? Well, go ask JFK because they don't want Trump to run. That is very obvious. And considering how poorly Biden is doing, he needs to how do I phrase this without getting deleted from YouTube? He needs to have another fair and free election coming up. And if it looks like, because his approval rating is in the toilet, somebody just needs to push the lever and make it go completely to zero. Because how Biden is doing right now, even with his own party, is piss poor, which is probably why they're trying to tap the shoulder of Gavin Newsom right now, who looks like Christian Bale from American Psycho. Yeah, I don't want that guy running the country. And God, if he got in the office, you probably would see a civil war. We are not being led by that piece of shit. Have you seen California lately? I watched a video of a woman, a homeless woman, giving birth on the sidewalk. My cats do that stuff. So yeah, that is what's happening in California, and they're tapping that guy in the shoulder to possibly run the country if they can talk Biden out of running for another term. And if Biden runs for another term and Trump is probably going to get the nomination. And with the way things have been piss poor run for the last 2, 3 years, 3 years now, 2.5 years. I don't know. It's been a freaking decade. It feels like it's been a decade that this crap has been going on, and there's absolutely no way in a free and fair election that Biden would actually stay in office. And that is what scares them the most. They know that if one way or another they got rid of Trump, if the stuff in New York doesn't stick, holy crap. Yeah, I think this merchant guy could be 100% correct. We might just, I don't know, have somebody with green hair and a questionable pronoun carrying a copy of The Catcher in the Rye, doing something to Donald Trump, and everyone's going to be like, well, I guess you shouldn't talk shit about trans people. Uh, that would be the comment from the White House, by the way. We don't condone this behavior. We just encourage it. So yeah, that's my question. Do you think this is a new form of MK Ultra? Did they perfect this shit to the point where, hey, if we can talk them into cutting off their dick, we can talk them into deleting people off the planet? So let me know what you think in the comment section. I do agree. Obsolete Optics, Ted K was right. I've been thinking that the last couple of years. And in all honesty, most people who read the manifesto, the Unabomber's manifesto, will say this stuff is dead on. We just don't condone the behavior for that he conducted in order to get it published. That's usually the consensus on what a lot of people say concerning that. But yeah, fascinating individual. Very, very interesting story. Oh, by the way, he was in MK Ultra, the Ted Kaczynski. He was a subject in MK Ultra. And from what I was listening to the other day on a podcast, it sounds a lot like what he went through in college while engaged in this program, probably solidified his ideas that pushed him to do what he did. So, again, just kind of more evidence to what could possibly be going on right now. As one meme said, how many more shootings do we have to orchestrate in order for you to let us take your guns? So, anyways, that's about it for me today. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And if you're listening to this on podcast, you can go over to the collapseexperiment.com, shoot me a message over there. Let me know what you're thinking on this subject, if I'm right or not. Yeah, here's the thing with many conspiracy theories, a lot of this information will never be released. We'll never know. Look at all the stuff that they hid from Columbine. Look at all the stuff that they hid with Adam Lanza. You really hear absolutely positively nothing about what happened in Las Vegas and that guy, even though it looks like from recent documents that have been released on the topic that he was seeking psychological help. So, yeah. And he also told people that he was part of an experiment and that he was being controlled by others. And he would stay up late at night holding his head screaming because he was in pain. So, nothing to see there. Don't pay attention to that. There was no manifesto that was on the nightstand, even though it's in the photos of the crime scene. No manifesto was there at all. Weird. So, having said that, keep on typing.